Well, Mr. Spence, how are you?
How are you? Turning my ringtone.
That's what he said.
Looks like we have a full house, so I'll just take a minute and we might get a few more chairs out.
Yes, you should. Good job. What is to
Welcome everyone to our council meeting tonight. And what I will do, because we do broadcast this by the web, I'll try to remember to call out each of the items, so if you're following at home, you can find out and follow exactly where we are on the agenda. And so I'll turn to Councillor Austin to open the meeting.
Moved by Katie Austin, seconded by Perry Ritchie, that the meeting of the Council of the Township of Springwater of October 20th, 2015 come to order at 6:32 p.m.
All those in favor? Carried. I'd ask everyone to stand if you're able for the national anthem and remain standing as we pause for a moment of private reflection or prayer.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, to praise your love in all our songs command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for
ask you to remain standing for a few moments as we pause for private contemplation, reflection, or prayer. I'd ask you to be seated. And we forgot to include Councillor Austin in a new initiative. I've been pestered by one of our councillors to my far left for some time now that wouldn't it be nice if, in case Councillor Austin's absent, that we might have a pre-recorded version of it and some nice video, and unfortunately I didn't inform Councillor Austin of that. So in the future we will follow the kind of programming. Anyway, thank you anyways, Councillor Austin. I'd ask, is there anyone on council has any disclosure of pecuniary interest in any matter on the agenda this evening? Okay, seeing none, I have a couple presentations I'd like to do. And the first one I'm going to ask Kathleen Doherty to come forward, and I'll meet you over there along with Councillor Hannah. We have two special presentations tonight. The first one is to Kathleen Doherty in recognition of your gold medal at the World Dragon Boat Championship in Hungary. I don't think it's spelled wrong, but anyway. I understand from Councillor Hannah that there may be a lot more gold medals than I just mentioned. Is that correct? And maybe you'd like to say a few words.
Sure, thank you. First of all, it's an honor to be here today. Hungary was actually one of my first world events opportunities. Most recently, this last summer, was the world events in Welland, Ontario. First time ever the Worlds were held here in Canada at home. And it's a little known fact that dragon boat paddling is actually the fastest growing team water sport in the world right now, and Canada is the world leader. So I love having opportunities to spread the word. We've started a club. I've actually taken 2 years off of my own competitive paddling to help build the club in Barrie and get folks involved from kids. With the fastest growing age group is actually the 65 plus category. So there's never give up a chance to be an Olympic athlete. It's a great opportunity. Thanks very much.
Kathleen as well, and what most of you may not know is not only is she a gold medal winner 8 times over, she's also an OPP staff sergeant, and she's out there helping protect the rest of us when we're trying to enjoy a peaceful, safe life. So thank you again.
And I'd ask Councillor Ritchie to accompany me as I ask Matthew Garwood to come forward, and probably his grandparents may want to come along also. If you keep abreast of everything, if you read the Springwater News or the Barrie Advance recently, you'll know that Matthew was kind of appointed Ambassador of Affairs at the CNE, and he's been running all over the kind of country at county fairs and country fairs and that. And he's been involved quite some time with the agricultural community, and we like recognizing our youth. I know a little more about Matthew. He's at Georgian College. He's been involved with the auto show, very involved. He also races in the Formula 1200 series. But anyway, tonight we want to recognize you for being appointed Ambassador of Affairs. And if you'd like to say a few words about your experience, that would be great.
Thank you, Bill. So, sorry, I have a little bit of a cold, so So my name is Matt Garwood, and I'm the 2015-2016 Canadian National Exhibition Ambassador of the Fairs. Some people might ask what that is. So in local fairs across Ontario, there are ambassador competitions. From there, once you are awarded with that title, you go to the CNE and compete for that title. So there were 76 of us this past August competing from across Ontario, and I was lucky enough to be named the ambassador of the fair. So that is the first time that my Elmvale Fall Fair has won this competition, so it's very exciting. So throughout this coming year, I go around to various fairs, bringing greetings from our area and from the CNE, and I'm looking forward to it. It's been a great experience so far, and I'm looking forward to the next year. Thank you.
So those are the fun things we get to do. So I have two resolutions here. I'll call on Councillor Hannah first.
Moved by Hannah, second by Colvin, that the Kathleen Doherty be recognized or congratulated and presented with a certificate for her achievement at the World Dragon Boat Series.
All those in favor? Carried. Councillor Austin.
Moved by Katie Austin, seconded by Perry Ritchie, that Matthew Garwood be congratulated and presented with a certificate for being appointed as the Ambassador of Fairs.
All those in favor? Carried. Now I'd like to ask Heather Rutherford to come forward. She has a delegation and deputation. And for those following the script at home, this is 5.3 on your agenda. And just before Heather starts, we do have some correspondence that's on our agenda, and also I received more correspondence this evening that will be distributed amongst council members and to the appropriate bodies at the county. Have a seat if you like.
Okay.
Yeah, pull both mics together, it kind of works a little better
Sure.
sometimes. Since we do have a full house,
There we go. Good.
that should be good.
Okay.
So yeah, just introduce yourself and carry on.
Honorable Mayor and Council, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you. My name is Heather Rutherford, and I represent a group of neighbors from Springwater Township who are concerned about the proposed organic processing facility and solid waste management sites at 1453 Floss Road 3 East and 2976 Horseshoe Valley Road, which are across from, near to, and next to our homes. What is the definition of recycling? To take something whose use is spent and recreate it into a useful product. During the next 10 minutes, I'll give you a brief overview of how we came together. Next, I'll address zoning, traffic, access to these locations, and talk about the wildlife and community. By the end of my talk, I'm hoping you will clearly see the consequences of these locations as well as possible solutions that we as a group suggest. History and background. On September 5th, I became aware that the property immediately fronting my home was on the short list for the organic processing facilities and or solid waste management facility. This was a project that Simcoe County had undertaken and for approximately 3 years was investigating over 500 suitable sites for these facilities. Further investigation showed that this site, 1453 Floss Road 3 East, had recently been purchased in March 2015 by the Forestry Department of Simcoe County under the premise that it would be placed in the ever-expanding program of forest preservation. I must admit that my first reaction was disbelief, followed by anger, and then realization that on the onset of this proposal, life as we know it would drastically change, as would our neighbors. Armed with documents from the township, on September 7th, we knocked on neighbors' doors on the 3 streets directly affected by the proposal, Floss Road 3 East, Rainbow Valley Road East, and Baseline Road, and distributed copies of the documents. The response was overwhelming. Concerned residents met with the mayor and several council members on September 12th on our property to express are fierce to our representatives and attempt to gain any information that we were able to provide us. Nearly every household was represented at that meeting, and we had the opportunity to introduce ourselves, our location of our properties, a brief description of the property and our issues. The mayor explained the importance of these facilities, the need for Simcoe County to proceed, and that the process was ongoing, so our concerns should be tabled in the appropriate venues. Residents left with a better understanding of the need, but the reservation on these two proposed locations was strengthened. The community is a mixture of agricultural, forested properties, wetlands, some environmentally protected, and residential. It's a cohesive community of like-minded people who have lived on their properties, enjoying nature and rural life, without many of the amenities of urban centers. They are independent, productive people who care for their neighbors and their properties. Many are longtime residents whose properties have strong family connections with communities adjacent to these locations. Since that initial meeting with the mayor, some of our founding members have declared concerns with Horseshoe Valley location, which backs onto Rainbow Valley Road. It is with consideration that we support them, as many of the same principles and issues are also applicable to both sites. Zoning. Both properties in question are zoned A, agricultural. Properties surrounding the sites affected are zoned A, EP, and AC. Today, when buying a property, the zoning is usually checked to see if the use that the purchasers propose is acceptable. Educated people also check the zoning on properties adjoining, in front of, and behind to ensure no incompatible nuisance uses could be proposed in the future. Decisions are made at this point to ensure a cohesive community in which to settle. Usually, decisions to purchase and locate new industries are based on zoning. By proposing a site that is not zoned for the use, upper-tier government is pitting the municipality against its taxpayers with disruption, dispute, and expenses caused by all having to defend themselves based on the very rules they have obeyed in the past. Broaching a rezoning can be a lengthy process, even when there is no objection. By suggesting a rezone in an area that is not conducive to an industrial use is asking for a long, drawn-out, expensive process, one in which nobody will win. There will be a breakdown in the community involved and relationship with authority. Okay. Traffic and access. Floss Road 3 East is one of the prettiest roads in the county, rolling, tree-covered, gravel-surfaced with steep grades and blind hilltops. There have been several accidents on these hilltops in the past, one including a school bus. The road is heavily used by large farm equipment on the properties it services. It's heavily crossed by wildlife, which keeps the speed down, so many of us have experienced close calls or deer bouncing off our front bumper on this road. It's a dead-end road, increasing traffic twofold. Presently, it is lightly traveled by the residents. County Road 27 already creates problems to the residents. It's a high-speed roadway that is heavily traveled. The steep road to the south of the intersection makes gaining momentum difficult at the best of times. There is a high-speed blind curve to the north, which adds to the difficulty and makes turning onto the roadway dangerous. During the winter, it can be treacherous turning either direction with whiteout conditions common. The hill and roadway south are always ice snow covered, despite efforts to keep it cleared. There have been many accidents in the stretch between Horseshoe Valley Road and Phelpston Road that have shut down travel. Floss Road 3 would have to be totally redesigned to handle what is proposed. Neighbors would be inundated with the constant flow of heavy vehicles past their front door. County Road 27 would be a nightmare, with trucks lined up trying to climb the hill, accidents occurring as higher speed drivers meet trucks turning and or stopped at the intersection. The expense of engineering, designing, and building these two roads and intersection would be prohibitive. Similar traffic issues apply to 2976 Horseshoe Valley Road. This property fronts Horseshoe Valley Road and is heavily traveled access to the 400 from the Collingwood areas. This particular section of road has a steep incline to the westerly section of the property and rolling terrain throughout. Access to this property off this road would be dangerous in the best of weather conditions. The property also fronts on Rainbow Valley Road East. This is an unpaved rural road with similar issues at County Road 27. This is an area of blowing snow and accidents during the winter months, and an increase of traffic on this portion of the road between Horseshoe Valley and Forth will prove deadly. Wildlife and environment. The location of these properties drains into the valley below. From air photos, zoning maps, and personal on-site investigation, there are significant wetlands, ponds, and environmentally protected properties that will be influenced. Originally, reforestation in Simcoe County was to control erosion from sandy, silty soils. Experience working on farms in the area show that there are underlying layers of clay shelves that carry water distances from higher elevations to lower elevations. With the advent of clear-cutting areas for development, the roots that had previously held the fine and organic material in place will be removed, displacing it into lower regions. Water and liquid-based material could follow the path of least resistance and deposit themselves in wetlands and environmentally protected areas. Although engineering can alleviate some of the runoff, downpours and adverse weather conditions that we have experienced in the last few years makes the concern of accidental contamination a strong possibility. Those wetlands eventually drain into the Minisink Swamp. Presently, our properties are fed by this site, are healthy and a haven for wildlife. I have stated in my letter to council, the flora and fauna of an area determine the health of it, and this area is teeming with health. Clearing this land for industrial development will disrupt the corridors of native species. Being displaced from their home range, they will wander onto the roadways and into urban areas, causing accidents on the road and eventually their demise as nuisances in the urban areas and farmlands. Community. With the introduction, a brief description of the community was expressed. Rural communities such as we have are slowly decreasing, and a healthy, forward-based one with families sharing their love of nature, farming, and rural life is in decline. To live in such a community where neighbor helps neighbors, there is a clear pride of ownership of property and an understanding that each of us is there when needed. Living on a dead-end road, as both of these roads affected by this development are, we know whose cars is driving by and check up on any visitor of the area that might not have the best intentions. We tend to be strong in family values and have a protective attachment to the land and the creatures that share it with us. To some of us, the intention is to pass the land to the new generation to protect and love as we do. Should the development come forward at either of these sites, we see the fracturing of the community. No longer will the reason that we live there be valid. Some are here for health, which comes from the clean air, spring water, the silence, and the relaxation from urban pressures. Some of us are here to retire and pass on the land to our children and grandchildren. For others, it is the recreational aspects that are so close by for the enjoyment of life. Our farmers will be disrupted, be it traffic, noise, or displaced wildlife, with organic farmers facing concerns over the possible contamination from runoff from the site. With the advent, this proposal comes concerns on air quality, noise, smell, traffic, and general disruption of life as we know it. There will no longer be a community united but displaced. Consequences. Zoning and official plans have a purpose. They put in place a guide for the community in the direction they choose to go. They outline areas that are suitable for growth based on criteria set out by the province. They allow the residents some measure of confidence that when they settle in an area, the uses and restrictions are spelled out. What is proposed at these sites is not in the zoning bylaw or the official plan and is a clear deviation from what this community is about. Should the county decide to choose either of these sites, there will be public outcry from the residents and possible further actions will impact us as a community. The unfortunate consequences will be as stated previously. The county will require that our municipality apply for a rezoning of the property, and we as residents of Springwater will be forced to fight our elected council at the expense of all. No one wants this waste of taxpayers or residents' money, as in the end it comes out of all of our pockets, be it municipal funds paid by our taxes or personal funds paid by our personal taxpayers. In conclusion, the easy fix is to ask council to support us in the removal of sites from the short list. But being reasonable people, we realize that there are 5 of the 7 sites located in Springwater Township, and it would not be fair to council to make the decision at the expense of the other taxpayers. It is with a heavy heart that we physically visited the other sites in Springwater. These are communities that also have fear of disruption of their homes and the long-term effects it will have on their properties. Only one of these sites is zoned industrial. People who live by that site are aware of this type of facility could be located there. The community has already been established and the lifestyles of people who are close by are already impacted by the use of industrial facilities. I would like to remind you of my opening comment on the intent of recycling, to take something whose use is spent, and recreate it into a useful product. There are properties in Simcoe County in which the use of the properties are spent, have similar uses as industrial use, and could be rehabilitated to meet the criteria. Every day, trucks are driving up the 400 series laden with fill that is dumped in our communities for a price to the landholder. It is not far-fetched to consider using one of these land sites to be designed and created to meet the intent of this use, to take healthy, forested tracts of land and clear-cut for a use that is not conducive and a threat to the surrounding area, zoning, and community goes against the very principles of land use planning. We would like to suggest that Simcoe County look into already existing industrial zone sites, or sites that will not be impacted by the residential and agricultural community. This proposal does not belong at 1453 Floss Road 3 East or 2976 Horseshoe Valley Road. We understand the need for establishing a location for the organics processing facility and solid waste management facility, but request Simcoe County to look for appropriately zoned properties and allow communities to live in peace without the threat of being forced from their homes and farms. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Yeah, just wait here because there might be some questions
Yep.
on that. So I'll turn
I just want to stand for a
council.
second.
If there's any questions that may want to be posed at this moment, I invite Councillor Hannan.
Thank you, Mayor French. Excellent presentation. Thank you, ma'am. Very emotional, and I think all your supporters are here must be impressed knowing that you worked this hard on their behalf. I guess my question is, have you made this presentation to County Council? Because I don't go there very often. I guess that's my first question.
We did attempt to make a presentation, but were denied.
Okay, I guess so. The only thing I can just maybe turn to our mayor and deputy mayor and ask them as members of county council if they could do something to help assist you in being able to make this presentation, or at the very least, if you'd be kind enough to consider advancing Mrs. Rutherford's and the residents' concerns at county council.
All information is forwarded to the county council, and like our council, the decision for deputations is dictated by the warden and clerk. And of course, there's a number of people who would probably want to make presentations. But we definitely are taking that information forward. That's part of our job. And of course, there's been good questions asked by many of the people here at our open sessions and that gathering information. And everything is being cataloged, and certainly it's going to be part of considerations going forward. That's all I can say on that at the moment.
Thank you, and just the observations I would make, this does not appear to be an ideal location, in my view.
Councillor Austin.
I agree with Councillor Hanna. Excellent presentation and excellent points. When we met, when Mayor French and Councillor Coghlan and I met with you several weeks ago, one of the things that we recommended was, and you did, was go and research the other sites, and in that way, being able to propose an alternative. And as you pointed out in your presentation, that isn't easy to do, because you're saying we want it over there, or you guys are. But you did say in your presentation here that there was one site that was zoned to allow that use. Can you specify which site that was?
Through Mayor French to Councillor Austin. That site was on 93 and 11, but it's not zoned specifically. It's zoned industrial, but it's in zone open, I believe. I can't think of what it is. It's M0-11, I think, is what the zoning is on it. But it is an industrial site. It's right over by a lot of industrial area in through there. I think Napoleon is by there, and
Yes.
yeah, so that's the site that it's of all of them. It's this, you know, appears to be the most suitable site.
And I know, I was by there today, and even without having to go there, even though that it's in terms of traffic, and I think one of your big arguments in defending your site has to do with traffic volume, whereas there, you know, there already is a fair amount of traffic volume. It's right by the highway and right by the outskirts of Barrie. So I think your case is strong.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to comment? Deputy Mayor Allen.
Thank you, Mayor French. A very good presentation. Thank you, people, for coming out. And this is exactly what you have to do, is to show up to meetings, write these submissions, come to council meetings. I remind you that Mayor French and I came into our positions both in township and county last December 1st. This was a process that was started in 2010 as part of the county's waste management strategy. So the previous council would have, at different times in their public meetings, been reviewing this whole process, this selection process of narrowing down 500 sites to a short list of sites. And you've probably been to the meeting, so you know the filter systems. And so we've come on board, Mayor French and myself, to first learn about this really in January, February of this year, with the expectation that there would be a short list of sites that was presented to us in council about a month and a half ago, with leading up to these public meetings. And then there's a further filter, as you know. So Mayor French and I are reviewing and listening to the comments and very much taking into considerations and developing our own questions and concerns. We went to Toronto and Guelph to see similar type sites to get an idea of what these things look like and smell the air and see the proximity to other industrial and residential buildings with respect to those sites. We've toured the sites here that are proposed in the shortlisted sites, and we share your concerns. Because we're looking back at the whole process since 2010 and saying, do we agree with the process as it has come to this point with other councils? And we have our questions that we are sharing with other councillors on this council and going to be pursuing with the county and with our other county councillors. So we hear what you say. We have our concerns, and I just thank you again for expressing it and continuing to express it. And we are doing our best to see what the real situation is now, where it's been, and where it can potentially go to. So, thank you.
Councillor Coghlan.
Heather, I just wanted to say thank you as well as resident of Ward 3 for advocating for us. And I've spoken to you many times on the phone, and I know how much time and effort you and your group are putting into this. So sincerely, thank you very, very much for doing this for us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'd like to say a few words too. I'm always the last to speak, so it hurts. I'm the servant up here. Certainly appreciate the presentation, and we certainly appreciate the opportunity of meeting with you at your residence. The Deputy Mayor and I have some kind of great concerns. I have more concerns than just the siting. I have concerns with the process. And of course, you know, I'm kind of voicing some opinions on that. I mean, I'll be very frank with you. I doubt if, except for the property identified at 11 and 93, I'm not convinced that this council will support any zoning changes that are proposed. I mean, I don't want to speak for everybody because I'm only one voice here. Because quite honestly, I mean, when I do look at, when I first looked at Horseshoe Valley Road, if it would have been a flat spot, it would have made sense. I mean, you may not have been happy with me, But I would have said, okay, and assuming it didn't have all the kind of the challenges, but unfortunately, just due to the kind of steep hill there and so forth. And when I look at the other ones, I mean, when you look at the third and the old second, you have some serious transportation issues there. So I think we're a long way off before there's a kind of any final direction. As a matter of fact, my bigger concern is that we really haven't identified the technology that might be used, and that's a bigger concern for me. We saw some very good technology that could work with a reasonably small footprint, but we haven't went that far with the county. And as I said at the first meeting at your house, we do need to kind of come up with solutions like this. The solution proposed certainly doesn't seem to be reasonable in many of our estimations. So we do hear you loud and clear. We are taking our concerns. One of the things that we were able to kind of achieve, which really is beneficial to our residents, is if you go back and check the previous meetings, they had one meeting on the other two processes. On this one here, we're having 10 meetings, and of course, 6 of them are in Springwater. So we are hearing a lot from the residents, and I think that's very important. But I think the positive news is, I also think you'll find our county councilor, or our county council, is a little more aware of the concerns of residents, and they're a little more willing to listen than maybe some previous councils, and that's all I can say at this point. I don't want to give you false hope, but at the same time, we're very cognizant of the concerns you have, and they're legitimate concerns. Yes, everybody gets accused of NIMBYism, but that definitely doesn't seem to be the case here. They seem to be really deep-rooted concerns, and that's what we asked you to bring to the table. You brought that to the table, and all the letters in that are certainly being kind of passed on to the appropriate people on the county, and that's what we're doing at this moment. And I think your kind of positive energy and instead of just negativity is very, very helpful, because obviously when you present a very good case as you have tonight, it's a lot easier for elected officials to listen to your story. And I think that story may need to be told a few more times. And but anyway, I thank you for the presentation.
When you made a formal application for a delegation to county council, which you did do, is that correct?
I didn't do it, but one of our members did do it.
And what was the response from them? No wrong time, or because there is a process?
Maybe she could.
So I'd be interested to know really what the response was.
Sure.
Please, come on.
Could you come up?
Yeah, so we can hear you.
My partner in
We
crime.
don't bite.
Very good. Yeah, just
Please.
Thank you.
please speak into the mic.
Thank you, Your
So we
Honor.
can record it.
My name's Mrs. Graham, and I was the one who put the application through to the county. It was declined on the basis that they are holding public information sessions, and that was the appropriate route. So we will be writing the submission and submitting it to the county with a copy to Springwater.
I think that translates into timing, basically. They wanted to go through the public information sessions, have the feedback through the public information sessions before entertaining a delegation to county council. But don't stop trying to get it. But just remember the time frame. We're having these public meetings now. It's really exposing Mayor French and I to the process to this point in time. As I said, we're going to be formulating a position to go back to the county staff with respect to the process up to this point in time, what we agree with, what we disagree with, what we question. And we're going to be trying to gain the support of other county councillors with respect to that finalized position. So the next spring or December or early next year is the next phase of the narrowing down of the filtering. We're going to be working on this constantly to try to accomplish what we think is best, but we, being council, with the input of you people during that process leading up to leading up to next December or January. And then after the next filtering process, we're still, as you've heard in the public meetings, we're still a ways off from finalizing any decision with respect to site. And certainly from what Mayor French and I have talked about, we want to know more about the technology. They seem to have come at this saying they want to select the site first and then the technology after. That doesn't make sense to either of us. So that's one of the points we're going to be pushing on, because you have to know the shape of what you're dealing with before, and the implications of what you're dealing with before you select finalize the site. Thank you.
Okay, just for the benefit of our deputy clerk, name and address.
Mrs. Graham, Spring SL are my initials. And Springwater Township, Floss 3. Thank you.
Thank you for the deputation.
Thank you very much.
Now, the deal is, we listen to you and you have to listen to us for the next 3 hours.
Doors are locked.
Yeah. I'll turn to Deputy Mayor Allen for the resolution.
Thank you, Mayor French. Resolution that the delegation by Heather Rutherford regarding the proposed County of Simcoe organic processing site be received.
Any further questions? All those in favor? Carried. Okay, we previous minutes, and we have an all-encompassing motion here, and it's items 6.1 to 6.3 on the agenda. And Councillor Coughlin?
Moved by Coghlan, second by Hammond, that the minutes 6.1, 6.2, and 6.3 of the Township of Springwater regular council meeting held on September 21st and special council meeting held on October 5th, 2015 be approved as presented.
Was there any questions on any of those minutes that anybody wanted to pull out? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, now we have question period, and you have 2 minutes to get to your question. You can kind of do a little preamble. We have a 10-minute time period, so try not to hog it all, but I invite anyone to come forward if they do have a question. And usual routine, name and address, please.
It's John Hawthorne, 3802 Horseshoe Valley Road West. And this is just in response to one of the previous minutes of one of the meetings. And that's to do with Bertram Drive. I just wanted to know, is Bertram Drive going to be put through to Nursery Road with the new industrial development that they're proposing?
I know our Director of Public Works is a kind of family bereavement tonight, but maybe our Director of Planning could comment.
Thank you, Mayor French. Right now, the proposal for the Bertram Drive industrial expansion or extension only proposes an emergency access on to Nursery Road. A permanent access is not contemplated at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
My second question is for fire protection, will they continue to have water ponds for the new development?
Thank you, Mayor French. As far as fire suppression goes, the idea is to provide for water suppression storage tanks based on the size of the buildings that they need to protect. Now, the details of whether or not there would be one fire suppression tank for the entire expansion of the subdivision or individuals will still need to be considered and decided upon, but we refer on to our fire chief and along with the engineers to confirm what the preferred method of fire suppression storage is.
Yeah, there is an appropriate ratio of so many gallons per square foot. And that storage facility has to be on site as part of the kind of approval process.
Yeah, I know, like when they had the fire last year or 2 years ago at the garbage facility there, I know they ran out of water and they had to tank, I don't know, 20 or 30 tanks from Anton Mills, and that almost drained the Anton Mills water system at that time. My last question, is it heavy industrial or light industrial that's being planned for the sites?
Manager planning.
Thank you, Mayor French. The zone that's being proposed for this site is an industrial outside storage zone, which allows for manufacturing considerations along with space and extensive uses, so which could include much like the asphalt plant that is there, or trucking operations, things of that nature. So it allows for pretty much all industrial uses to the extent that the servicing on site will provide for.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have a question and like to come forward? Okay, so let's move on to staff reports. And we're going to 8.2 because 8.1 has been withdrawn. Any questions or comments on it by anyone on council? Any comments from planning on this?
Thank you, Mayor French. I guess the only comment is that staff is recommending that the bylaw be forwarded to council for consideration, as the comments received through the public meeting have been addressed to staff satisfaction.
Okay, hearing that, I'll go to Councilor Ritchie.
Thank you, Mayor French. Moved by Perry Ritchie, second Katie Austin, that the report from the planner regarding ZB-2015-016 Edburn Development Corporation dated October the 20th, 2015 be received, and that draft bylaw be submitted to council for consideration and
All those in favor? Carried. And we'll leave we'll just pause for about a minute to allow people to leave. And if you don't leave in the next minute, you have to stay until we're done.
Exit room right here.
Okay, we're going to go to an empty room.
Looks like it's just, yeah.
Let's go.
We didn't exclude us.
We're going that way.
Okay, I think we'll carry on. We'll move on to 8.3 on the agenda. Is there any questions on this paving request? Councilor Austin.
The first question, I may have two. The first question was, when and how was the tennis facility reserve first established? And I guess the question would be, Mr. Mayor, to
I'll refer that one to our Director of Recreation, Director Belcourt.
Sorry, I couldn't hear what the question was.
When did the reserve fund and that start for the tennis court?
The reserve fund for the tennis court was established back in 1995.
And how? How was it established? Where did the initial funding come from?
The funding is through the Midhurst Tennis Club's use of the 3 out of the 4 courts during summer months. So it's a rental fee that's put into a reserve fund.
So basically, the tennis courts or club funds itself. And they're the ones who put the money into the reserve fund, is that correct?
Director Belcourt?
Yes, for the Minters Tennis Club, which is a summer operation, the group that we're partnering with here is the Winter Tennis Operation, which is a private operator that runs the facility from October till April.
Okay.
And the question is, the item says pave the Doran Park parking lot. So I'm just wondering, who owns that land? Who takes responsibility for the land on which the parking lot exists? And I assume it's unpaved at the moment.
Yes, it's the township. Yes, thank you, Worship, through to Councilor Austin. It is a township-owned property, so we're ultimately responsible for the operations of the facility, and it is currently a granular parking lot.
Okay. And the bad news is the baseball game is what, 12 to 2? For the bad guys. Okay, Councilor Hanna. Oh, you have a question?
Yes, I have a question. Thank you. I guess, I think this is a no-brainer. I think we have a private company that's offering to pay the biggest percentage of paving a parking lot that's owned by the township. In the end, it does assist the township in maintenance and costs and so on that we see. The way I read the report from the Director of Public, of our Parks and Recreation, is that they're offering to pay 50%. Our Director of Public Works, being such a great negotiator, wants them to pay 60%. So I guess what I need to know before I pass or read this motion is, are we asking them to pay 50 or 60%? And the bottom line is, are we going to be paying basically the $2,818 because we're taking the rest out of the tennis fund? So I guess I need some direction on how to complete the recommendation.
Director Belcourt?
Thank you, Worship, through to Councilor Hanna. I've recommended 60%, 60-40 split. They have use of the facility 7 months of the year. We use it 5 months, plus the additional walkway that's to be included in the paving is strictly for their purposes, although it does alleviate some liability on our end if they do have a good walkway to maintain. But there's additional paving that they require specific for their use, and they have additional months use compared to us.
With that in mind, do you feel comfortable?
Just then the second part of the motion is asking for the total amount of funding. And I'm not clear from reading the report because it talks after they pay their percentage, we're on the hook, or if you like, for $8,000, but we're taking $5,182 out of a fund to pay for it, and that leaves $2,818 that we have to pay. So I just want to make sure I read the motion correctly, that either we're going to be paying $8,000 or we're going to be paying the $2,818.
Director Belcourt?
Through you, Mayor French, to Councilor Hanna. Essentially, if Council agrees that 60% would be contributed by the Doran Park Tennis Club, if you will, or sorry, the Barrie North Winter Tennis Club, and 40% would be paid for by the township. Essentially, it would be $8,000 is what we're looking at our contribution. Essentially, all $8,000 will be funded out of the tennis facility reserve.
Thank you, sir.
Deputy Mayor Allen?
Thank you, Mayor French. If this is paved, and there was work that was being contemplated with respect to the washrooms, and I know there was a proposal before, the question is that if this is paved, will any other work that's coming up still have this paved parking lot survive that work, or we're planning to have it as part of future development of that area?
Director Belcourt?
Thank you, Your Worship, to the Deputy Mayor. The works that are anticipated to be done at the existing washroom building would not affect any of the paved area that's to be done, that would be done at this time. All the works would be completely off of that, and there would be virtually no heavy equipment running across it for the amount of work that's to be done.
Okay. Okay, Councillor Hannah?
Moved by Hannah, second by Cogman, that the report from the Director of Recreation Parks and Properties regarding a request to pave the Dorn Park Tennis Court parking lot dated October 20th, 2015 be received, and that subject to deliberation in the affirmative, the Township of Springwater will contribute 40% for the paving of the Dorn Park Tennis Court parking lot to a maximum of $8,000, and the remainder of the cost shall be paid from the Barrie North Winter Tennis.
Further questions? All those in favor? Carried. Okay, next to 8.4, Elmville Lift Station. Any questions on this? It's fairly straightforward. Okay, Councillor Austin.
Just one possible typing error. I think it should be a east instead of west. In page 6 of the Township of Springwater section, if you could call up the document there, where, and scroll down to where it talks about Township of Springwater, so it's page 6. Okay, second paragraph. And in the middle there, a sentence beginning with Mr. Mullen. Oh no, second line down, Mr. Mullen. So Mr. Mullen indicated the location of the lift station on a small property that has no frontage on Queen. It is beside 105, the current lift station, and approximately east and south of the parcel that is adjacent to 105, which fronts on Queen Street. It is accessed, that means the old lift station is accessed by means of a right-of-way to the west of the parcel proposed to be expropriated. I think that should read east.
I will have our acting CAO and clerk clarify.
Mayor members, the current access is through the driveway of the Whitfield
Whitney
house. So I may be, my orientation of that site may be lost, but I believe it is to the west.
No, it's to the east.
Is it?
It's to the east of the property that's going to be expropriated.
That said, also, this is actually the report from the hearing officer, and we can send a note back to the hearing officer to say that the orientation is east or west, and we'll certainly check it into that.
Thank you. Is that it? Another question?
Could I ask you through Mr. Mayor, through you to Director Spagno, at what stage is the Wye River Estates proposal? Is it pretty dormant?
Manager Spagno.
Thank you, Mayor French, and through you to Councillor Austin. The Wye River Estates subdivision is draft plan approved, meaning that the developer has to satisfy all the draft plan conditions in order for development to move forward. To date, there are still, majority of the conditions are still outstanding, so the timing of development is unknown because it is up to the developer to satisfy those conditions.
Is there a time limit?
No.
Other questions?
Down this end.
Councillor Hannah.
Thank you, Mayor French. I guess it'll be Mr. Spagno that'll have to answer the question, but maybe our acting CAO, not to make him feel left out, might want to answer the question. But in the report, it states that that the approval authority, and from 8.1 of the Act, it says the approval authority is the township. So as approval authority, it says we have 90 days to provide the reasons for our decision. I'm just curious to who we provide those reasons to.
Acting CEO and clerk.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. It is an excellent question. So we've had the hearing of necessity. What's before you attached as an appendix to the report is the hearing officer's report. Tonight, as the approval authority being council of the Township of Springwater, being the approval authority, we provide notice of the expropriation and the reasons to, I'll say, all the parties, and that would be the current property owner. I believe, in fact, we issue it also on the hearing officer as well, and that's what we're issuing it to.
Thank you. If I just follow up for a second, we talked about two prices in the report: 71,000, 85,000. Don't want to get answer a question that's maybe going to hurt negotiations, but I'm just not certain whether we're going to be paying 81,000 or 85,000.
Your Worship, there was some closed session discussion regarding an upset limit that I'm not at liberty to discuss in open session. Those were the two prices. I recall that they were listed on the open market. They were previously for sale. And again, there were 3 parcels, and each parcel was listed individually, but with a caveat that they must be purchased all together. So the actual price, assessed price for that one lot was in around approximately $71,000.
Thank you. I was just concerned that we're given directions to do something, and I wasn't sure how much we were going to be spending of taxpayers' money, so thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Deputy Mayor Allen.
Move that the report from the Director of Corporate Services and Clerk regarding Elmvale Lift Station expropriation dated October 22, 15 be received, and that in accordance with Section 8, Sub 1 of the Expropriations Act, Council approves of the expropriations outlined in Appendix B of the subject report.
All those in favor? Carried. 8.5 meeting schedule. Any comments? Clerk and acting CAO.
Your Worship, I'd like to highlight that your meeting schedule is obviously a living document, and it will be amended based on the needs of the corporation, such as we recently identified additional dates for the budget meeting, so they will amend the schedule accordingly. Councillor Hanna has highlighted that I failed to identify Christmas, and again, the schedule is a living document, and one of my efforts is to publish your meeting schedule on each agenda at the adjournment. So again, as the meeting schedule is amended, Council will have possession a updated meeting schedule. So thank you, Councillor Hanna.
Thank you. I just wanted to point out every day's Christmas, sir, so appreciate you adding that on there.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Councillor Austin.
Moved by Katie Austin, seconded by Perry Ritchie, that the report from the Director of Corporate Services and Clerk regarding the 2016 meeting schedule dated October 20th, 2015 be approved.
All those in favor? Carried. Okay, staff reports. Is there any that you would like to pull out and discuss or comment on? Because they are received for information purposes at this point.
What numbers are we?
They're 8.6 to 8.10. Nothing? Okay. Councillor Ritchie.
Thank you, Mayor French. Moved by Perry Ritchie, second by Katie Austin, that the staff report items 8.6 through to 8.10 be received as staff reports for information.
All those in favor? Carried. Okay, the kind of committees of council, the master fire and joint accessibility. Any questions or comments? Or actually, maybe Councillor Austin, I can have you speak to it briefly on the accessibility committee.
Yes, the Joint Accessibility Committee, which was a combination of the Accessibility Committee for the County of Simcoe, and we combined with the Springwater combined with them because we didn't have enough people to have of our own. So we met and we elected a chairperson and vice chairperson, and we discussed a number of issues with and we've set another date for a meeting on November 12th. And I was very impressed with the professionality of the staff and the other members, and I'm very interested in learning, just how broad an influence the accessibility committee can have. Like two things. One fellow was recommending that we consider relief locations or relief sites, service animal relief areas for people who have service animals, and they have to bring them to, say, a township facility. If there's one little area fenced off where those animals could relieve themselves. So that's an interesting initiative. And another piece of information that I found out and I'm going to look into further is that people who have difficulty accessing those mailboxes, those outdoor mailboxes, again, I have to look into the exact details, but they may be able to get a special permission form from their doctors to allow them to get home delivery when we switch over. So, very interesting initiatives.
Great, thank you. So, Councillor Coghlan. Oh, do you have something else? Okay. So,
just one correction. The VIA minutes, 10.3.
We're not there yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought she was going to call that.
Okay. Councillor Coghlan.
Moved by Coghlan, second by Hannah, that the Committee of Council's items 9.1 and 9.2 of the Township of Springwater and the recommendations contained therein be approved as presented.
All those in favor? Carried. Now we're moving on to other boards and committees, and yes, that is 10.1 and onwards. So you wanted to speak to something, Councillor Austin?
Item 10.3, the BIA minutes, there was a correction. That was not an annual general meeting. It was just a meeting.
Duly noted. Any other minutes anybody want to discuss? Okay, seeing none, Councillor Austin.
Moved by Katie Austin, seconded by Perry Ritchie, that the minutes of the boards and committees of the Township of Springwater and the recommendations contained therein be approved as presented.
All those in favor? Carried. Okay, on to correspondence and information items. Does anybody want to pull anything here and discuss it or make comments? Councillor Coghlan.
Item 11.5.
Anything else? Yes, Councillor Austin.
Item 11.4.
Anything else? Okay. Good. Councillor Hannan.
I would also like to comment on 11.5.
Okay. No other items though? Okay, well let's, I guess we can kind of receive the information 11.1 to, well actually 11.3. Councillor Hannan.
Moved by Hannah, second by Coleman, correspondence items 11.1, 11.2, 11.3 received as information.
All those in favor? Carried. Okay, let's discuss 11.4 first. Councillor Austin?
I'm just wondering if staff has a report on how the old pit, the old Eek pit that is no longer going to be used, how is that going to be rehabilitated and when, and who is to supervise it? Because some of the complaints that we're getting from the local residents about the loss of trees, for example, we might be able to make them feel better if they know that the old pit is going to be rehabilitated, which would balance off trees being cut in the new pit.
I'll turn to manager of planning if he wants to make a comment. I know we're receiving this letter, and I might preempt what Manager Spagna was going to say, but this is part of the process that we're going through, and we're just kind of making note of information we're receiving as we go. We will have a very extensive report on the applications before us, but with that, I'll turn to Manager Spagno for any comments.
Thank you, Mayor French. Everything you said is correct. Through you to Councillor Austin, the only additional piece of information I'd like to provide as that staff is working on a report to have a report come forward sometime in December, which will provide responses and an account of all the questions that have been submitted through this process, so that all information is provided in one package for council's review as part of council's review as part of council's decision.
December?
In December, yes, that's correct.
Any other questions on 11.4? Okay, seeing none. Okay, 11.5. Councillor Cogburn first.
Thank you, Mayor French. I just wanted to make sure that this letter was highlighted and that this council did address it, to speak to it. And I also was just curious if we were going to identify how this letter impacts this council's platform, or if it does matter for me.
I guess in my opinion, the letter, if my comment would, not sure it really kind of addressed the query. I think it maybe from their perspective closes the loop. I think the positive thing is that I think it's actually in tune with our platform, because basically the minister has confirmed there's a small portion of this entire plan that is approved, and the rest of it, and they included the decision and some comments that's not approved, and that's why we do want to move forward with basically, you know, our official plan amendment or a new official plan, because maybe we have some influence in the lands that have not been approved, is really the only comment I can make at this point. Okay. Councillor Hannan.
Thank you. I read this letter with interest for obvious reasons, and I guess what I concluded from it is that even the minister has made the comment, the way I interpret his comment anyway, is that the OMB has the authority to rule in the direction that may be not consistent with what municipalities' residents want, or what the municipalities want, or maybe even what the province wants. The OMB sort of has the final say, and I always have problems with a judicial body like the OMB dictating, if you like, to the provincial government and to a municipality. So that's just an issue, I guess, that'll come up sometime in the future when we decide what's going to happen with the OMB authorities going forward. And I guess the other problem I sort of had in the very last paragraph on page 2, my interpretation there, when he talks about since the OMB is an independent quasi-judicial tribunal and makes decision at arm's length from the government, it would be inappropriate for me to comment further on outstanding ministry appeals. So does everybody else agree from the comment that that is, they're talking about the ministry outstanding appeal, that's the 465 hectares that is yet to be approved?
Right. Yeah, no, it's specific to that. Now, and the only closing comment I will make is that going full loop relative to, if you want to talk about platforms, since it was brought up, we've said the same thing since the final papers March last year. The ministry is the only one that could basically override the OMB by revoking the special rule. That possibility is still there. What is the odds of that? Probably very low, but it's still in their hand. They created the special rule. They have the full authority to do what they want. Will they? Probably not, would be my comment. So it's an ongoing thing. You know, we did our presentation. We gave them, asked them to explore 3 options. They did not really respond to those, but at least I respect the fact that we did get a response, and I believe from the minister's perspective at this point that he's closed the loop. Now, if council for some reason wants us to undertake an initiative, that's entirely up to council. Council through resolution directs us to do something more with the minister. I'm sure I'd be quite prepared to do so, but I'll do so with the will of council. Okay, so I guess go back to Councillor Austin to receive the remaining items. Oh, sorry, Councillor Hannah.
Moved by Hannah, second by Coghlan, that the correspondence and information items 11.4 and 11.5 be received as information.
All those in favor? Carried. Okay, moving on to item 12 on our agenda. Does anybody have a notice of motion they'd like to put on the table? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to 13. Has anybody got some items for future consideration that we'd like added to the list? Seeing none. Well, actually, one comment. Some of our items of future consideration, I'd like to review it, and we don't have to do it tonight, but I'd really like anything we do for future consideration have a very specific timetable on it, because things seem to keep moving out. And so I think we should all look at that list for the next meeting, come back and see if we can prompt maybe some staff reports or whatever. So that's my comment on that. So moving on to item 14, any updates from your particular ward that you'd like to inform everyone of or comment on? Councillor Ritchie.
Mayor French, actually, I'd like to, this question is to the Director of Parks and Rec. If you could give council an update on what the renovation there with the Phelpston Rink. Did you get my email today?
Probably.
Is it appropriate to ask at this time, Mayor French?
Well, actually, no.
Okay.
In simple terms. But actually, we can go back to items for future consideration, so we can ask, you can definitely ask Director Belcourt to provide, or you can have a...
Mayor French, it's in my ward, it's just I'd rather me give the update, I'm asking Belcourt to give the update,
Okay.
so.
And actually,
I
and I recommend maybe after this meeting, Director Belcourt, have a little chat with our councillor and bring him up to date on that matter. That would be appreciated. Thank you. Any other municipal updates? Councillor Austin.
Elmville is going to be having a Santa Claus parade, and the BIA is organizing a Christmas in the Village event, lighting of the Christmas tree, I think it's December 4th, and vendors in the hall the 5th, I think. That weekend and the following weekend, the Lionesses are going to be having their sleigh ride in the village. And, so we will probably be getting an invitation or inviting ourselves to take part in that parade as we did last year.
Would you like to give us an update on how Saturday night went?
We had fun, but it was a small turnout. In terms of, square dancing, is not the popular activity that I had hoped it would be.
Okay, but nothing ventured, nothing gained, so, that's certainly, anything else from anyone else? Councillor Coghlan.
In Hinton Mills this weekend, we have pumpkin carving that we started a couple years ago, and we have 23 kids signed up for it so far. So this year we've asked, because our pumpkin field was frostbitten, so we don't have as many pumpkins as we like, so we've asked the kids to sign up, and it's turned out really well. So we put plastic bags everywhere inside the hall, and we make a big giant mess as a community. So as a mother, I appreciate the opportunity to do it somewhere else other than my own home. So it's a really nice event. So
Great, and I'll remind council that I have some tickets here for the annual Simcoe County Federation of Agriculture Annual Meeting and Banquet, November 5th. It's in Creedmoor, $25 a person for a wonderful roast beef dinner, and the score is 14-2, unfortunately. So anybody wants them, I have them here. And just a reminder, because I don't think we've got a lot of responses from councillors, there's maybe 15 or 20 coming to our first kind of mayor's business breakfast. What date was that? I think it's 28th. Yeah, 28th. So if you do want to plan to attend, please kind of inform Janine or Robert, and we're going to experiment with this. We may move it on to do different groups and that, but if you're able, just please confirm. It's 7:30, and we're going to be out there at 9 o'clock. That's one thing you have to do with these breakfasts. So we're just going to give them a quick overview. We have a little survey we want them to fill out. We're going to feed them and send them home. So if you can participate, that would be great for everybody. Snow Valley.
Oh.
Yeah. And we'll probably move it around. Any other municipal updates? Councillor Austin.
No, I just wanted to ask Councillor Coghlan, you're having a Christmas parade in your village too, right? And are we going to take part in it as we did last year?
Yeah. I think we'll see all those popping up in their schedule in the next week or so, because I see them all coming together, and obviously we will all participate as best can. Any other comments? Okay, we don't have any closed session that I'm aware of. Nobody wants to move the closed session for anything to speak about. Okay, with that, Deputy Mayor Allen.
Moved by Allen, second by Ritchie, that confirmatory bylaws listed herein be signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk.
All those in favor? Carried. And item 19, a real important one, Councillor Ritchie.
Yes, moved by Perry Ritchie, second by Katie Austin, at the regular council meeting, the council of Springwater does now adjourn at 7:50 p.m. to meet again in regular session on November the 2nd, 2015, at 6:30 p.m. in the council chamber administration center.
All those in favor? Carried. Meeting adjourned. Thank you for those that have hung in here to the very, very end. Thanks a lot.